Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Dismantling Morgellons with Alana Kyle. I'm Kathleen Fitzgerald, and together we're talking about Morgellons. So, yeah, last episode was, episode 7 was pretty amazing. Let's just jump right back into it. And
Yes.
Alana, go, Alana, go.
Well, I just realized I have some pictures that I wanted to share because I think it helps to see kind of the progress of what a Morgellons sore starts out and then how it continues as you clean the stuff out, what it's going to look like. And
That's a episode.
I
That's
have a
a
series.
great idea.
Yeah, I have a series of pictures here because what the some of the sores look like are really bizarre. So like this is an area that started off being sores um, on my leg. And it first started off with like a red swath, just looked like swipes of red. And then it started becoming this sort of volcanic, like bumpy skin. And it was bizarre to see this come up, this sort of like pushing up, like all of this stuff was pushing out and creating these sort of like caps, these holes right here that started out like that. And
That like
eventually it became,
plastic pushing up through the skin.
I think it's kind of, I really think it's like cysts, but I don't know. I mean, how do I know? But it was a lot of debris coming out eventually. And it was a lot of pain. It was really ugly. It looked disgusting.
Where
And
did
I
you
mean,
say it was at?
that was on my shin, on my leg, on my left leg. And
Oh,
it's one of the worst. I think I had 40 of those holes or sores, whatever. So then they look like this. And this is under a microscope. So it looks like this under a microscope. And you can see all the fibers coming out. You can see the hydrogel plastic, like sort of scab layer. And then these really weird orangey yellow, this yellow resiny stuff that's also part of it that I haven't even talked about yet. Some of this blood, this is all like in the inside, in this crater. And then I would clean that out with the DMSO and the Calogel sulfur ointment. So that will melt those top layers off. And then eventually you end up with this. And this is deep, deep, deep inside my skin. And this is all nanotubes. This is all graphene nanotubes. And they're in there, they're like growing out of my skin. So they're really stuck in there. It's not like you can just pull this thing out. I mean, you have to really work at it to get that to come out.
so
And
would
it,
it use different things to use as plugs to kind of keep this in, the skin, like the hair follicles and
I think it's in there with the hydrogel because the hydrogel is like super glue. It does not let go. I mean, it's seriously tough stuff. So it's not like you can just put something, I mean, you can put it on and melt it, but it's like a process. Like I said, you have to keep rubbing it and melting it and rubbing it and melting it. Also, I forgot to mention, there's a lot of things that also affect hydrogel, including heat. So you want it to be, I found out it's like, if it's 94 degrees or above, it shrinks the hydrogel because so hydrogel is aqueous. It like absorbs water. And so when it gets in your body, it sucks up all of your water, making you completely dehydrated. So this is a big problem. We have to worry about being hydrated. And then when you melt the hydrogel, fluids will be like released from it. So it'll sort of shrink up and then all the fluids will come out and you'll feel the fluids come out. It's like wet. You feel wet, like you feel waterlogged when this is happening. So if you
I
go
have
into
to
a
say
bath,
I'm kind of feeling that right now.
yeah, the wetness, right? Weird, right? You're like, why am I feeling wet? But it's not wet, but it's wet inside
I
in
got a
your
feeling
body.
too that when you address a lesion in one area, there'll be a different area that it's kind of been censoring or correlating to, and then it may
I think
heal or
they
show
talk to
signs.
each other. They talk to each other. That's what I think. I mean, yeah, it's
Well, you're
weird. Like,
helping me to confirm a lot of things that I've only been able to,
I'm glad you're mentioning it.
intuitively know, and I just have no idea. And I'm sure there's so many of us out here that are like thinking about
Well,
this too.
that's why I like to talk to people and ask them what their experiences are, so I can really confirm like what I experience. But you definitely, like, if you're working on an area over here, all of a sudden you feel something down on your foot. I mean, like it can be that. It's this quantum sensing part of it that I think has to do with when Morgellons in your body knows you're attacking it, and so it starts doing some
Yes,
funny thing in another part of your body, right? It's like, oh shit, they're attacking, oh no. And then they start doing something weird and in some other place.
yes, you're right. It's like, yes, yes, she's so right.
Yeah,
Yes, you are. You're
they're like,
so
watch
right.
out, she's coming for you. And so
Yes,
they
I
start
know,
freaking
I
out.
know. Yeah. Yeah, you
See,
can
I
feel
kind of have
it.
to be a warrior, you know.
It is programmed to gather and, create its own circuits. It's programmed, right?
So yeah, it's sort of like taking over your body, kind of like
Wants to, yeah.
it's taking over. It's like, okay, like making a home for itself, and you have to be like really brave and be like, oh no, 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 you're coming out. I'm not having this. And like you have to be really strong and like be determined, because this thing can really get to you. I mean, it's very difficult to remove.
Now I want to talk just for a minute
Yeah.
about the hat. And,
Okay.
you just wear the hat and it blocks so much of the Wi-Fi to the rest of the body
That's right.
that you can just wear it and you don't have to think about too much. And you know what? I've got to yeah, you know what? If you get tired of just the wearing the black, look how easy it is for me to just like be wearing, a beanie. And you don't even know that I have my EMF blocking hat, which is protecting my body from the Wi-Fi from telling different parts of my body stuff, which is important because if you want to block the Wi-Fi that is feeding them, telling the nano what to do, then it won't
Yeah,
have the master.
I really think it helps so much with the detox, because it's like cutting off the energy supply.
Exactly. Thank you. That's
And then
right.
so we end up dropping a lot of the metals out of our body. And people are like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like the first month I wore my hat, I had massive detox, massive. So
Yeah,
it
me
was,
too. When you gave me my first hat, it only had one layer. And I wore it for 2 weeks straight. And I remember, I think I might even be talking to you, or I just had called you afterwards or something. But I was in the parking lot waiting to get my tires. I think it was in the winter or something. I had worn my hat for like 2 weeks straight. And all of a sudden, I coughed up and gagged, and this hydrogel and stuff just come up and just shot out, and something shot out of me, and I got chills like, woohoo, we're glad that's gone.
well,
What was that?
I could show you some of the
That's
stuff that came
out. So
out.
it's like, woo.
I know,
So
it's incredible. It's
it's gonna
incredible.
be, it is amazing when you start addressing these issues as it is and get to the bottom of it,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, anyway, it's really amazing, and we're really lucky. I mean, we didn't know these hats were going to be so effective, so it's very cool to see. But that I remember all the metal that came out of me the weeks after, I started wearing my hat. And so like, here's one piece. So that came out of my knee. Isn't that crazy?
You had a sore
Metal.
there and you dug it out and you put it under
It
your
wasn't even
microscope.
sore. It was just an area that I was working on. It was a nest, but there was no sore. And this is the area right here. And it was red, and it was weird skin, like kind of bumpy. I don't know how to describe, like sort of crepey, and it hurt. And I did a bunch of those treatments, and like I would get these like fiber pods out, and they look sort of like this. There's all these different colored fibers, and very like clumpy white fibers mixed together with hydrogel. And that stuff would have made me incapacitated. I wouldn't have been able to walk ever again if I hadn't got all that stuff out of my knee, because my knee was just buckling
No, I
when I would
believe
walk.
it. I believe it. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the treatments so that people
Definitely.
can hear what we have done and what you've done in episode 8 here? I think that'd be a good time now, if that's a good suggestion.
So first of all, you're going to want to do a full program, but right now we're just talking about the actual sores and how to handle the skin issues and how to actually dismantle the nests, which is kind of a big part of this.
Yeah,
And
because you've got some lesions that, I mean, sores that just aren't healing. You don't know what it is. You're kind of
like an
worried, but
infected area, and it hurts. It hurts. You know, it makes your life a lot worse, especially if they're on your face, you know, or in your eyes or wherever. Like if you have like sinus cloggage, that's another problem. So it's like all of this stuff is treating like more of the surface level. But so I wanted to talk about one of the best ones. I have a whole list here of things that works for it, but as far as melting the hydrogel, because that's what you got to do first, really. But the one I want to talk about most is DMSO, because I don't know if a lot of people know about DMSO. I mean, some people, but it's one of the best things that we could possibly use for this disease. And it can be used on topical treatments, in pastes, kind of like these pastes that you can make, or it could be in taken internally. And a complementary version of that is MSM, which is like a powder that you can put in your drink or whatever. And it's similar to DMSO, and it has certain same kind of effects because it's all sulfur based. And so I wanted to read some things to you guys, because this is pretty critical. Like if you get anything else out of our videos, you know, get yourself some DMSO and start using it. It's the most wonderful thing. You know, the only problem is that on that bottle it says not for human consumption, not for human use. Can you believe this? It's because the FDA kind of went to war with the people who wanted to make this, you know, a product. But the thing is they knew it would destroy the pharmaceutical industry. So
well, yeah, I read it. I did a deep dive on it once, and it says that they use it to cure cancer and all sorts of things. And you
you know what they use
know,
it for? They use it to transport organs. Like they take an organ out of somebody's body and they're going to put it in someone else's, and they plunge it right into DMSO.
no way. Are you kidding?
No, I'm not. This is
I
like
had no idea.
such a crazy. I'm like, okay. And they also cure like brain problems, like brain damage with it. I mean, like so many things that it could be used for, but the public is totally unaware, you know, and they're like under this pretense that, you know, somehow dangerous if it doesn't say the FDA approved it,
Yeah,
which is not
because
true.
anything that you put on there just soaks it right in the vein, just takes it right in there. I mean, that's the message. It's true.
Well, anyway, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm annoyed that, you know, that we have to go through so many barriers to get the things that we could really use that would really do the trick. And so DMSO is a non-toxic, okay? So you're not gonna be damaged by it ever, ever, ever. No one's ever been hurt by it. Okay. So the only thing that you have to worry about is that it does penetrate into the body. And so you have to be careful because it can carry things into your body. So like if you have some kind of toxic chemicals on your skin, say from some other product, and then you put this DMSO on top, then it's going to carry those toxic things into your cells. So like you want to be careful that your skin is kind of clean and it's not dirty and it's not gross before you start using this. But then so I wanted to read this is from the Real Miracle Solution, the Health Matrix. That's where this article is from. I don't know if it's still up because this is from a long time ago, but it says here that that DMSO is an intermediate product of the global sulfur cycle, which distributes bioavailable sulfur for all animals and plant life. Sulfur compounds are found in all body cells and are indispensable for life. They are needed for a number of chemical reactions involved in the detoxification of drugs and other harmful toxins, and they have potential clinical applications in the treatment of a number of conditions, such as depression, fibromyalgia, arthritis, interstitial cystitis, athletic injuries, congestive heart failure, diabetes, cancer, and AIDS. Among the sulfur compounds, DMSO is probably the one that has the greatest range and the greatest number of therapeutic applications ever shown for any single chemical. It has around 40 pharmacological properties that may be beneficial in the prevention, relief, or reversal of numerous diseases. Such an amazing thing, right? It goes on to say, DMSO is an effective painkiller, blocking nerve conduction fibers that produce pain. It reduces inflammation and swelling by reducing inflammatory chemicals. It improves blood supply to an area of injury by dilating blood vessels and increasing delivery of oxygen, and by reducing blood platelet stickiness. It stimulates healing. And I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. You can use it for burns, you can use it for injuries, toothaches, teeth problems, headaches, hemorrhoids. I mean, you name it, you can use it for so many things. And it's just miraculous. And it's cheap. You get this bottle like this for like $10 and it lasts a long time. So I use it liberally. I mean, I just use it every day and I love it. I even put it in my eyes. I just put like 1 drop in my eye, each eye, every day. So I love it.
Glass bottle then?
Yeah, I use it in a little, I put it in a little bottle with a little dropper and make sure that bottle stays upright, so it doesn't like get into the rubber. But anyway, so you have to be careful of what you put it in, but definitely probably not plastic, but glass is better. But I mean, the bottle that it came in is plastic, but when I put it in something else, I put it in glass. But so I use that for almost all my treatments, and it's miraculous. It's wonderful.
That's fantastic. That's a lot on DMSO. Thank you so much for all of that.
Well, there's a lot more sources on the internet that have a lot more information, and I encourage everyone to do their own research. There's books that are written on it. I'm always posting stuff about it in my group. So if you're in my group, you can just look it up in the search bar, and there's like a lot of references to it. And a lot of people that have had miraculous healing with it. And, people who normally wouldn't be able to get the kind of pain relief they need would be able to use DMSO for pain relief, instead of like opioids, or instead of like, Valium or whatever they're using, whatever horrible thing they're trying to use for pain, because they have chronic pain, they can use DMSO instead. But I'm not a doctor, so don't listen to me.
Right, this isn't medical advice, like we said before.
Not medical advice.
Better say that, episode 8 here, that's not medical advice. If you have a medical emergency, you're to call 911. This does not replace your doctor's advice. This is just us talking about what we found as effective ways to take care of some of the skin conditions that we're seeing coming up with what we would call a nanotechnology infestation, a high-tech disease. This one, I would say. Alana, I'd like to just talk about, so you found some skin conditions. It can be anything from itching to hives. I mean, sometimes it's just bumpy skin. On me, it can be just like feel like a little bump where I'm gonna break out. Or rough skin. I noticed
it looks different across the board. It's different every day.
Right. So say anyone listening to this has found some skin conditions and they want to start treating it. So, the best thing, right, is, in my opinion, would be to take a bath in borax, baking soda, and Epsom salts.
Let's talk about the bath. Yeah.
And maybe just start there. Right. So that's just came to my mind. So I'm going to put that there real fast. Then let's just touch on a few more high points, because maybe people don't have a lot of time. So then
a little bit.
cleaning
You're
the wound really
cutting out
well.
again.
Uh-oh, my connection's a little unstable. So hold on, let's say, okay, this time it'll come in burst. So then cleaning the wounds really well. I found Benedict cleaner. It's I found it
Oh, yeah.
in the feed store, my animal feed store, and it's like a surgical cleanser with iodine. If you don't have any of that, just regular
That's
little bit
awesome.
of the topical iodine that costs $3 for a
Absolutely.
little bottle, and mix it with a little bit of soap and clean it
Oh,
well.
no, you're
And
cutting out
then,
again. Shoot.
am I breaking up? You're breaking up too. Uh-oh, now you stalled. Hmm. Okay.
Shoot. Back up. Are you there? Hello.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
here.
Okay.
It doesn't look like we're getting interrupted too bad. We'll just keep going. So
Yeah.
talked about the baths and then how to clean the wounds with the Benedict cleanser or iodine, get them nice and clean. Then you can apply the DMSO over the tops of those so you get out, you know, and you're clean and everything, and you let those air dry, or with a sterile gauze, you can pat the area dry a little bit, and then put some DMSO, get a Q-tip. I like the gel, the DMSO and the gel. Put a little DMSO. If they hurt really bad, then you can just dry the area and just put a little Band-Aid over each one for a while and just cover them. If you've just like opened them up and they've oozed and they're fleshy and they're yucky. So just
Yeah.
clean them, little
Covering is a good idea.
DMSO. And then there's also, what else can they put over the to treat the initial
So
findings,
there's a bunch of things that really are great for the sores for healing, and so I've used a lot of these different things, but the ones I love are, okay, now alfalfa is my favorite thing in the whole world. So alfalfa of any kind, even the seeds. I mean, I've used it and it's been miraculous for healing. I love alfalfa. So you can get it in a tincture. You can get it in a organic tincture, or I just got it on Amazon. But I'm using it internally and externally. So that's wonderful. And what we're trying to do here is, so not only do we have to melt the hydrogel, but we also have to bind the metals, because metals need to be bound with something so that then your body can eliminate it. Otherwise it just kind of stays where it is. So you have to use binders. Lots of things are binders. But like my favorite, alfalfa is a binder. Okay, so that's why it's able to draw out lots of the metal all at once out of a sore or an area. So that is one of my favorites. Clove oil is also incredibly effective, wonderful for pulling out fibers, draws them out. And it might be because of like some kind of like ionic exchange. There's something about like positive, negative ions. I don't know. There's like
good for
that kind of
parasites too, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah.
talk
So
over you.
clove oil, no, clove oil is for parasites, and it's so effective. I use it in my baths a lot, and I use it a lot on the surface. These things you can apply directly to your skin without burning, by the way.
So I got a suggestion that, what I would do if I had a sore, or I was, trying to heal it, or several, you could go as far as just go anywhere and get the alfalfa capsules. There's dried
Yeah,
alfalfa in there, just the powder. Oh,
yeah,
take them home, open 3 or 4, and I would mix it with either coconut
yeah.
oil or get creative castor oil, or, I would mix it with something. And
Right.
then after I cleaned it, took the bath and cleaned it and, did all that, and then did the DMSO, then I would probably want to take the alfalfa and pack it, make a little poultice there, and then put some Band-Aids over it, and just like go to bed. And, that's, if
Yeah,
they're really sore, that's a good time to use alfalfa, because it does, in my opinion, also keep the tissues from getting infection, your good tissue, the real tissue, while the fake stuff is coming up through the skin. right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure if infection actually plays a part. I've found through Clifford Carnicom, he said that for some reason the when you have a sore, that it somehow it doesn't get infected. It's not getting infected. It's just, but it could. I mean, I'm
But
not
I
saying
got
it can't.
scared. I got scared a
Oh,
couple
I know.
times because it was getting deep, and I thought if it goes deep, I just have to stop, compress it, poultice it, just let it do its
It's a
thing.
good
But I
idea,
couldn't.
definitely. I think antiseptic is great
Wait,
for this. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes you
What?
can't force it. Sometimes you can't force it, Like you're not saying that you are. I'm just saying, in my
You mean
opinion,
you can't push too hard? You're
alfalfa
saying
helps
you
you.
don't want to like go too fast, is what you're saying? Don't go too fast with the healing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I got scared that I would get an infection, it would go deep and get into the blood or something,
Probably because the door becomes so hollow, there's like a hole. And so, and you're
Oh,
like open to it. You're open to infection. It seems like that, right? It's never happened for me, but it could. I'm not saying it can't, but I don't know. But definitely, I think antiseptic is a good idea of any kind. And I don't know if, I guess alfalfa might have antiseptic properties. I know that Calogel has antiseptic properties. And then there's also the iodine, which is antiseptic. So there's like, I mean, so we're kind of overlapping things. We're overlapping antifungal, antibacterial, and, antiseptic, antimicrobial, all of it, so that we can kind of get the whole thing, because this thing has got a lot of different various parts to it. You know,
no, can I just
it's a parasite, it's a fungus. Go ahead.
throw this in that I got something, this lesion to a certain point, right? And it has this hard plastic stuff on the top, very close to the skin, like towards the end, And I actually had some stuff that you paint on your toenails for like toenail fungus. I thought, let's try that. I put some of that on there, and it totally just like made that extra plastic layer come off in like probably 30 minutes. It just like, I don't know, I was able
Yeah,
to.
that's what I'm saying. Like antifungal stuff is probably the best, right?
I was
You
pretty
know,
impressed. I was like, wow, I'm gonna like use this as some of my protocols, this little paintbrush. And it didn't sting or anything, and you just painted it on, and it just made that plastic just rise up, and I was able to pull it right off.
yeah, well, cinnamon is antifungal too, and that's why I think it's so great for baths. So, I didn't tell you guys what the bath is. Do you want me to talk about the bath a little bit?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so I mean, a lot of people do the baths, and that's always been kind of like a helpful trick, especially if you're in a lot of pain and it's really hurting and your body's like itchy and it's just a mess. So you get into a bath and it feels so good, especially if it's nice and hot. And I came up with this formula. I just asked God, I just said, hey God, can you give us a bath that works? Because I want to just be done with this. I just want to heal from this. So I got in my head, so 2 cups of borax, and I got 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. And then I use citrus soap, which is Bronner's citrus soap. And I just pour some in. And then I put a few clove oil, or you could do tea tree oil or peppermint oil. They're all kind of similar.
Peppermint,
And
tea
now I do
tree, what
alfalfa,
else?
but so you just put some drops in there and then you soak. And it's the most miraculous thing. This bath has been able to draw out just so much of this stuff. So much of this nanotech comes right out of your skin and melts right out. The hydrogel just totally can't deal with any of this. The citrus especially just totally takes it out of your skin. And you'll end up feeling a little bit of herxing afterwards and probably need to lay down, because your body, is undergoing like this huge transformation when it gets detoxed. So you have to give yourself a little bit of space and time after the bath. Oh, I wanted to show you this is what came out of one of the baths. This was before I even did the cinnamon and anything. And one day I had all of this white fibrous stuff come out. That's the bottom of the tub. The whole tub was covered in it.
That fake
It's
plastic
like,
stuff.
it's the same stuff that's in the stores, like I showed you one time, last time. It's this like white, it's the white nanotubes. It's this stuff. It's the same stuff. And incidentally, this same stuff is what is causing blood clots in people currently.
Yeah, same stuff. Okay, so I'll go over that. The bath recipe. 2 cups of borax, 1 teaspoon cinnamon powder, and that can be cooking
Powder.
powder, and you can go and get it
Yeah.
a bulk. You can go to the dollar store and get the cinnamon, whatever. Uh, and some Bonner's citrus soap. You just pour it in there, right? And then
Yep.
some drops of peppermint, tea tree oil, and you said another oil that I didn't
I
get.
said any of these oils. Clove oil is my favorite.
Clove.
Tea tree
Okay.
oil or peppermint oil or alfalfa or a little bit of each
Yeah,
if you have it.
whatever. Right. Okay.
And
Okay.
you
Perfect.
don't have to put much, just a few drops, like 10 drops.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I have pictures also on my group. I have pictures of people taking of the baths and what they look like after, like what stuff comes out. It's interestingly, it kind of looks like coffee grinds when you're done. And I've found those coffee grinds coming out of my skin doing treatments as well. So it's all the coffee grinds. They're like this it's sort of like resin-like stuff. And it's kind of hard to understand what we're looking at a lot of times, but I've heard this is a thing. People have actually been talking about it. This sort of looks like coffee grounds coming out of your skin. So that's what's
It's
being
not
pulled
just the
out.
cinnamon powder and the borax.
Oh
It's not just
no, oh
cinnamon powder, the
no.
one little teaspoon of cinnamon powder that you put in the bath. Hmm.
Maybe that you'll see a little bit of that, but this stuff is crunchy. This stuff is like bigger grains. It's like grains of sand, like
Hmm.
crunchy. Hard to explain, but I mean, I've got pictures of that too. But I mean, like it looks kind of black because there's like black goo mixed in, and there's fibers mixed in, and there's all this nanotech stuff coming in there because I've got pictures of that too. But it's crazy. But anyway, people
Crazy
are like
stuff.
healing so fast using the baths.
Okay. So we've got 7 minutes and for episode 8 and continue on with whatever you want. It's all yours.
Okay, so we're talking about melting hydrogel when we're talking about treating this because it's not gonna leave your body. It's just gonna keep growing and keep creating these networks inside of you. I mean, so of course you have to internal treatments, which we'll talk about the next time. But what I wanted to talk about was like this list of things that melt hydrogel. So you can kind of create your own program if you want, but basically you have to understand that heat will melt it, especially over 94 degrees. So if you want to do like heating pads, baths, sometimes people go in saunas. I know you have a sauna that you go into that helps as well. And then Calogel, which is one of my favorite things. It's got menthol in it. It's got like zinc and this product called EDTA, which absolutely destroys hydrogel. So that one is one of my favorites. And then DMSO, which you talked about, citrus of any kind, citrus soap, vitamin C. Those things are really important. You can drink lemon juice in the morning, put lemon in all of your drinks, put lemon in your tea. Borax, you can make pastes out of borax. Borax is super safe. It's very helpful. I often soak in a basin of water with a little bit of borax. It takes out a lot of nano out of your hands. And then you've got castor oil. Any kind of oils really help as well. Like, any kind of like olive oil, castor oil, coconut oil. Those things kind of smother fibers and they have to come out. For some reason, air is a thing for these creatures. Baking soda is extremely good. Peppermint oil, any kind of camphor, eucalyptus, clove oil, cinnamon. Cinnamon is super powerful. So start eating it more, start putting it in your tea, whatever. I like this product called mentholatum. I think that's what you call it, mentholatum. The only place I can find it is on Amazon, but it is critical for healing your sores. I mean, like not healing, but helping with the pain.
That's good to know. That's
Like
good
in the
to
middle
know.
of the night, if I get an attack in the middle of the night and all of a sudden I'm having some kind of issue, either on my face, my hair, anywhere, I just dip my fingers into that menthol and slap it on there, and I go right back to sleep. And also it's good if you have like a major attack, like when you're really itchy. And then of course colloidal silver, and then any kind of sulfur ointment and sulfur soap. So I use sulfur soap in the shower every day, and it really cuts down on the layers and layers of hydrogel that are coming out on your skin. So it'll just cut that. And so there's just some ideas. Of course, there's also iodine, SSKI. I mean, there's so many things. There's actually a whole nother list. This is just the beginning. But these are things that you can easily get, that you can start, working on your own program to deal with this Morgellons.
Yeah, not a lot of this is expensive. I've had
Okay.
great luck with the Calogel. I like the fact that you said it's got menthol, zinc, and EDTA. And if you had those separate ingredients, or if you had some mentholatum and you had a zinc capsule, you could crush it together and use it. I mean, and then this
Yeah.
stuff is going to get smart. It gets smarter and smarter. And so using one treatment and then altering and smothering it another time, and then, cleaning it out, and then covering it with this or that, using different techniques at your discretion, using your intuition, I think is always effective.
Yeah.
It's going to be the best because only you know what's, really.
Yeah, and you'll know that you're getting better when you see these things disappearing, and you have less and less issues, less and less itching, less and less problems, infections, what have you. And that's what I've noticed anyway. Over time, you get to be so less. I mean, you get to like clear out so much of this crap that you don't have the effects anymore. And that's when you're healing. That's when it's good.
And why is that important?
So,
And we've got just like a minute and a half now. Is that if you can get rid of the sensors, then they can't pick you up online as much anymore, and you won't hear the voices. There won't be as much ringing or detection, and so then you'll be a freer agent out there in the universe. We want you to be a
yeah.
free agent, acting on your own free will according to God's will. Is what our best hope for everybody. Mine anyway, and I'm sure
Absolutely.
Alana too. Well, Elena, any last words? You got about 30 seconds, and then we'll wrap this up. Thank you, everybody.
I just want everybody to get some hope and to get on a program and just, be consistent. And, if you have any questions, you can always go on my Facebook group and ask, or you can, message me or Kathleen, and we will definitely get back to you and help you out, whatever it is that you're needing at that moment. So
That's right. And so again, the YouTube is AK Cuthbertson, AKCUTH BERTSON, Cuthbertson, AK Cuthbertson, or then Facebook page is EMF Blocking Hats by Alana. This is Dismantling Morgellons, episode 8. Signing out. See you next time around. Okay, can't wait. Love you guys. God bless.
God bless.